Most Hollywood weddings leak weeks in advance. Guest lists get accidentally exposed. Venues get spotted. Stylists start teasing. But this one? It landed like a lightning strike. On February 14th, in the middle of New York City, Maya Hawke quietly said "I do" to singer-songwriter Christian Lee Hutson, and almost nobody saw it coming. No dramatic announcement, no months of wedding buzz, no carefully staged bridal-era rollout. Just a surprise Valentine's Day ceremony that instantly sent fans scrambling. And here's the wild part. Representatives for both of them didn't immediately comment. No glossy exclusives, no long captions explaining our love story, just silence. In an industry addicted to attention, that kind of restraint is rare. The timing alone felt almost cinematic. Valentine's Day, New York City, a winter wedding. It sounds scripted, but it wasn't teased, hyped, or slowly revealed. It just happened. And that's what makes it interesting, because Maya isn't just another actress tying the knot. She's the daughter of two Hollywood legends, Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman. Her life has been watched since birth. Every relationship speculation, every red carpet appearance, every comment about nepotism. She grew up in the spotlight. So how did someone with that level of visibility manage to pull off a wedding that felt almost secret? That's where things get layered. There were clues, subtle ones. A diamond ring spotted in Manhattan, a casual fiancé mentioned during an interview that most people overlooked, a few soft launch Instagram moments that didn't scream engaged but quietly hinted at something serious. The signs were there, people just didn't connect the dots. And when the news broke, it wasn't just about romance. It wasn't just about a Stranger Things star getting married. It was about privacy in a generation that documents everything. It was about choosing intimacy over spectacle. And maybe, just maybe, about controlling the narrative before anyone else could. But here's where it gets even more intriguing. This wasn't some whirlwind celebrity romance that started on a red carpet or inside a movie set trailer. Their story began somewhere much quieter, and the way it unfolded might explain why this wedding stayed under the radar for so long. Long before the ring photos, before the Valentine's Day headlines, this relationship was hiding in plain sight. Maya Hawke didn't meet Christian Lee Hutson at a premiere, not at some industry afterparty, not through famous parents pulling strings. They met the way artists actually fall for each other, in a studio. Years ago, while recording music, the two started collaborating. No flashy announcement, no hard launch, just writing sessions, shared lyrics, long hours chasing melodies. And if you know anything about musicians, that's where bonds get real. You don't fake vulnerability when you're building songs from scratch. Christian wasn't some random industry guy either. He built credibility in indie circles, opening for Phoebe Bridgers between 2022 and 2023. Serious, respected. Low drama, serious about the craft. That matters, because Maya has always walked a tightrope. Hollywood royalty on one side, indie credibility on the other. Dating someone deeply embedded in the music scene, not just fame adjacent, shifts the narrative. And here's where it gets subtle. Last year, during a Soul Cow Sound Session interview, Christian casually confirmed Maya was his fiancée. Not a grand reveal, not a viral moment. The host mentioned his fiancée Maya, and he simply said, yeah, that was it. No fireworks, no press blast. 2 months later, paparazzi photos showed Maya in Manhattan talking on the phone with a very noticeable diamond ring on her left hand. Still no announcement, still no official statement. Most celebrities would have capitalized on that moment. Engagement post, coordinated caption, strategic magazine deal. They didn't. Instead, they did something smarter, or riskier, depending on how you see it. They let the internet speculate. There were soft hints everywhere. The couple made a red carpet appearance at the opening night of John Proctor is the Villain in New York. Maya later attended Prada's Fall-Winter 2025 show during Milan Fashion Week with Christian by her side. She even posted a front row photo days later. But notice the pattern. Presence without oversharing. And then came the Instagram post that felt almost too personal for publicity. In February 2024, Christian shared a Valentine's Day post supporting Maya's album Chaos Angel. Not performative, not overly romantic, just genuine admiration. Months later, Maya posted candid photos of them lying on a bed, sitting on a plane together, writing about how lucky she was to know him, calling him a poet musical genius. That doesn't read like PR. It reads like a partnership. And during an interview on the Zach Sang show, Maya said something that now feels like the real clue. She couldn't recommend dating your friends enough. She emphasized being with someone who knows you beyond the surface, not someone projecting an image of a perfect girlfriend. That line hits differently in hindsight, because for someone who grew up with cameras flashing since childhood, being known as a person, not as a brand, might be the real luxury. So while fans were focused on Stranger Things theories and red carpet looks, this relationship was building quietly, intentionally, almost strategically low volume. And by the time the public caught on, they were already planning a wedding. But choosing Valentine's Day wasn't random. That detail says more than people realize. Valentine's Day weddings are usually predictable. Red roses, over-the-top romance, Instagram captions you can see coming from a mile away. This wasn't that. On February 14th in New York City, Maya Hawke and Christian Lee Hutson got married in a ceremony that felt intimate, almost deliberately understated. No weeks of bridal teasers, no influencer-style countdown. Just a date loaded with symbolism, and the guest list that made the internet freeze for a second. And let's talk about the visual. Maya didn't go for loud, dramatic spectacle. She wore a white wedding dress paired with an oversized, feathery winter coat, a look that felt cinematic but not flashy. It was giving classic New York winter romance, not look at me extravaganza. Christian kept it clean and timeless in a tuxedo. No gimmicks, no trend chasing. That choice matters, because Valentine's Day can easily tip into cliché. They avoided that. Instead of turning the holiday into a branding moment, they used it as a quiet backdrop. Romantic, yes, but controlled. And here's the interesting part. The ceremony was described as a surprise. That suggests tight inner circles, real trust, no leaks. In today's industry, that's almost impossible unless you actively decide to keep things locked down. Which raises a bigger point. In an era where celebrity weddings often double as business deals, exclusive photos, magazine spreads, viral dress reveals, this felt different. There was no immediate glossy rollout, no emotional essay about finding my forever, just the fact that it happened. And silence can be powerful. The timing also adds another layer. Valentine's Day is a global love spectacle. By choosing that date but refusing to overexpose it, they flipped the script. It became personal instead of performative. But here's where it gets deeper. This wasn't just two artists tying the knot. Sitting in that room were two people who represent an entirely different era of Hollywood, her parents. And their presence turned this private ceremony into something quietly historic. Now here's the part that quietly stole the spotlight. Sitting in the front row weren't just proud parents, they were Hollywood history. Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman, once one of the most talked about couples of the late 90s, were both there to watch their daughter get married. Pause on that. They were married from 1998 to 2005. Their relationship played out under intense media scrutiny, red carpets, award shows, then a very public split. For years, their names were linked more to what went wrong than what worked. And now, they're sitting under the same roof, celebrating their daughter's Valentine's Day wedding. That image alone is powerful, because blended families in Hollywood don't always look this composed. There's usually tension, awkward headlines, old narratives resurfacing. But this felt united, intentional, mature. Uma reportedly wore a light blue gown with matching shoes, elegant, calm, no attempt to overpower the moment. Ethan kept it simple in an all-black ensemble. Clean, classic, low drama. Again, notice the theme. No chaos, no spectacle, no subtle competition for attention. Even Maya's brother, Levon Roland Thurman Hawke, was there. And beyond that, the extended family dynamic runs deep. Ethan has 2 daughters with his current wife, Ryan Shaw Hughes Hawke. Uma shares another daughter, Luna, with ex-fiancé Arpad Bussin. This isn't a simple nuclear family. It's a modern Hollywood web. And yet, on that day, it looked seamless. That's not accidental. When 2 A-list actors who once had a very public split show up peacefully for their daughter's wedding, it sends a message. Stability, growth, perspective. Whatever happened between them, they showed up. And fans noticed. Social media lit up, not with scandal, but with nostalgia. People remember the late 90s era. People are pointing out how surreal it felt to see that generation now attending their daughter's wedding as guests instead of headliners. It's almost symbolic. Maya grew up inside fame. Now she's stepping into a new chapter, on her own terms, while the icons who defined her childhood sit in the audience. But that wasn't the only group drawing attention inside that room. Because when you looked a little closer, you'd see another powerful circle gathered there. One that represents an entirely different generation of stardom. And then there was the other front row, the one that felt like a time capsule for an entire generation. Because this wasn't just a wedding, it quietly doubled as a Stranger Things reunion. Finn Wolfhard, Gaten Matarazzo, Caleb McLaughlin, Sadie Sink, Natalia Dyer, Charlie Heaton, Joe Keery, all in attendance. That's not just a guest list, that's a cultural era sitting in one room. Remember, this cast didn't just work together, they grew up together. They were kids when the show exploded. Overnight fame, global press tours, internet obsession. That kind of shared experience creates a bond that most actors never get. And now, years later, they're showing up not for a premiere, not for promo, but for something personal. That hits differently, especially because Stranger Things is nearing its final chapter. The end of a show that defined Netflix's dominance. The end of childhood roles that launched all their careers. Fans already feel nostalgic about it, and seeing the cast reunite at Maya's wedding only amplified that emotion. It almost felt symbolic. One chapter closing, another beginning. And let's be honest, the internet loves this kind of crossover moment. Screenshots started circulating fast, fans zooming in on outfits, speculating about who sat next to who, wondering if this was the last time we'd see the core cast together in one place before the series finale. But beneath the fan excitement, there's something more strategic here. These aren't child actors anymore. They're adults building independent careers. Indie films, music projects, fashion campaigns, carefully curated public images. And yet, when it mattered, they showed up. No drama, no leaked tensions, just presence. That reinforces something important about Maya's position in that group. She's not just the daughter of, she's not just the breakout star. She's clearly respected within her own generation of actors. And that credibility matters, especially in an industry that loves to label people. But here's the twist most people overlook. While the wedding guest list screamed Hollywood, the foundation of this relationship had nothing to do with acting at all. It started with music, and that creative connection might explain why this marriage feels different from the usual celebrity headline. Before the red carpets, before the cast reunions, before the wedding headlines, there was a studio. That's where this actually began. Maya Hawke didn't just stumble into Christian Lee Hutson through mutual celebrity friends. Their connection formed while writing and recording music. Long sessions, stripped-down demos, honest lyrics. The kind of creative space where you can't really hide who you are. And that matters. Because acting lets you play someone else. Music doesn't. When you're writing songs, especially the kind Maya leans into, raw, emotional, indie-leaning, you're exposing real parts of yourself. Christian had already built credibility in that world. He toured as an opener for Phoebe Bridgers between 2022 and 2023, earning quiet respect in indie circles. Not flashy fame, not tabloid buzz, just serious songwriting chops. That's a different ecosystem than Hollywood. He later appeared on Maya's 2024 album, Chaos Angel, weaving their creative worlds together, not in a loud power couple way, more like collaborators who genuinely trust each other's instincts. And you can see it in how they talk about each other. On Valentine's Day 2024, Christian posted about Chaos Angel saying he loved the record and couldn't wait for people to hear the rest. It didn't read like promo copy. It read like admiration. Months later, Maya posted candid photos, lying on a bed together, sitting on a plane, calling him a poet musical genius, and saying she felt lucky to write with him on his album, Paradise Pop 10. That phrasing is important. Not lucky to date, not lucky to love, lucky to write. That's partnership. And during an appearance on the Zach Sang Show, Maya said something that now feels like the blueprint for this entire relationship. She said dating your friends is the best decision. Being with someone who knows you as a human, not as an idea. Someone who doesn't project a fantasy version of you. For someone raised in one of Hollywood's most famous families, that statement carries weight. Because let's be honest, dating in that environment can get complicated. People see the name, the lineage, the connections. They project things onto you. But a songwriting partner, that's different. They see the drafts, the messy voice memos, the unfinished thoughts, the insecurities behind the lyrics. That kind of intimacy builds slowly, and it builds deep. Which explains why this relationship never felt performative. It didn't start with paparazzi shots or viral flirting clips. It started with chords and verses. And when love grows out of collaboration, it often feels steadier, less about image, more about alignment. But here's where things get more layered. Because no matter how authentic a relationship is, Maya has never been able to fully escape one word that follows her everywhere: nepotism. And marriage doesn't magically erase that conversation. Here's the part no one can ignore. No matter how talented she is, no matter how grounded her relationship looks, Maya Hawke has always carried one invisible label: nepotism baby. Daughter of Ethan Hawke. Daughter of Uma Thurman. That's a powerful launchpad. It opens doors, it gets meetings, it creates access most aspiring actors would kill for. And Maya has been unusually honest about that. In past interviews, she's admitted the privilege exists. She's acknowledged that her last name gave her a foot in the door. But here's the tension. Getting in the room is one thing. Staying there is another. Since her breakout on Stranger Things, she's worked hard to shape an identity that feels separate from her parents' legacy. Indie films, vulnerable music, fashion campaigns that lean artistic instead of flashy. She's clearly trying to build credibility, not just visibility. And that's where this marriage adds another layer. Christian isn't a blockbuster actor. He's not tabloid fuel. He's an indie songwriter with niche credibility. That changes the optics. It subtly distances her from the idea that every major life move is strategic or industry calculated. Now, let's be clear. Some online chatter always pops up around high-profile relationships. There's been speculation from certain corners of the internet about whether aligning with a respected indie musician strengthens her artistic positioning. Rumors suggest some fans view it as a smart branding shift toward authenticity. But speculation is just that, speculation. There's no evidence this relationship was anything other than personal. In fact, if this were a calculated PR move, it would have looked very different. There would have been exclusives, coordinated interviews, a monetized wedding reveal. Instead, they kept it quiet. And that's actually the stronger move, because the fastest way to fight the nepotism narrative isn't by arguing online. It's by building a body of work and a life that feels self-directed. Still, public scrutiny doesn't disappear overnight. Every red carpet appearance gets analyzed. Every casting decision gets dissected. Even this wedding sparked debates, not about drama, but about legacy, about what it means to be Hollywood royalty in a generation that's increasingly skeptical of inherited fame. That's a tough space to navigate. But here's the interesting part. Maya has never tried to pretend she came from nowhere. She doesn't struggle with cosplay. She doesn't rewrite history. She acknowledges the privilege and then keeps working. And maybe that's why this marriage feels different. It doesn't scream power play. It doesn't scream status upgrade. It feels like two artists choosing each other quietly, without trying to prove anything. Which brings us to the bigger question. In an industry built on spectacle, what does it actually mean to choose privacy, stability, and creative partnership over noise? Because this wedding might say more about the future of Hollywood relationships than people realize. At first glance, this looked like a simple headline. A Valentine's Day wedding, a famous actress, a respected indie musician, big names in the room, cute photos, end of story. But it's more layered than that. Maya Hawke and Christian Lee Hutson didn't turn their marriage into a spectacle. They didn't monetize the moment. They didn't flood timelines with curated intimacy. In an industry where even relationships can feel like marketing campaigns, they chose restraint. That's rare. Her parents, Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman, represent a generation of Hollywood that lived through peak tabloid culture. Flash flubs, gossip cycles. Public splits have been dissected for years. Maya grew up watching that machine operate up close. And now she's navigating fame in a completely different era, one driven by social media, instant commentary, and viral narratives. She could have leaned into the spectacle. Instead, she built something quietly. A relationship that started in a recording studio, not on a red carpet. A partnership rooted in songwriting sessions, not headlines. A wedding announced after the fact, not teased for months. And maybe that's the real shift we're witnessing. This next generation of Hollywood isn't trying to be louder. They're trying to be intentional. The Stranger Things reunion at her wedding wasn't about publicity. It felt like closure. A group that grew up under global attention is now stepping into adulthood on their own terms. One chapter ending, another beginning. The presence of her parents wasn't about nostalgia. It was about evolution. A public love story that didn't last, now showing up peacefully to support the next one. And the marriage itself? It doesn't feel like a power move. It doesn't feel transactional. It feels like two artists aligning their lives, the same way they align lyrics, slowly, carefully, deliberately. Of course, public scrutiny won't disappear, the nepotism debates won't vanish overnight, fame doesn't loosen its grip just because you say, "I do." But this wedding sent a subtle message. You can grow up in the spotlight and still protect something sacred. You can inherit fame and still choose privacy. You can be part of Hollywood royalty and still build your own story. So maybe this wasn't just a celebrity wedding. Maybe it was a quiet statement about control, about deciding what parts of your life belong to the public and what parts don't. And in today's attention economy, that might be the boldest move of all.